Okay, calm down. Rico Suave.
Love is in the air on the Cat Country 96 Birds recap. It is brought to you
Yeah.
by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and our friends at Banko Beverage Company. With my pal Sam Malone, it's Kevin Crockett. You got some real nice setup there, buddy.
Well, it's Christmas season, you know. You got to do what you got to do. You got to smile a little bit, I guess, right?
Christmas time.
Yeah.
We need something to smile about. You know, it's funny. I can't remember if it was this hat or a different hat. Right after it would have been Tuesday morning, dropping my son off at school, and somebody was like, "Oh, I can't even look at an Eagles logo right now."
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it because I'll preach it till the end of time. Whatever your team is, if you're going to be about them when they're up, you got to be about them when they're down.
Well, let me throw this, and I try to explain this to a lot of people that are, you know, I'll say 20 years younger than me plus. You know, there was a time when the Eagles were terrible, and they were not televised. The home games would not sell out, and there was that time of, you know, due to the unsold number of tickets, today's Eagles game will not be televised. We bring you the best of the Three Stooges. I remember that growing up, or the best of Abbott and Costello. There were times when, you know, a 6-10 season was, woo, they're getting better.
Yeah.
So let's just, you know, calm down a little. Here I am telling them, preaching, you know, calm down a little bit. The Eagles are 10-4. They're a winning team. They have going through some struggles. It was worse at one point. We're going to be okay.
You know, a question that you presented to me last week, though, when we did this show was, where's the panic? And you said to me, you're right above the panic button.
Yes.
Then the Eagles changed defensive coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
They went to Matt Patricia. Interesting to kind of see how the offense is going to be going forward, because there's some people talking about who should be responsible for the play calling with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'll ask you, if your hand was up here last week, you lose to Seattle, you change the defensive coordinator, you're saying that there's some positive things because the Eagles used to be a dumpster fire.
Right.
Where is that hand now on the panic button?
It's a little bit, I'm not going to hit it yet. It's a little bit closer, but I am not going to hit it yet. But I will say that if, in fact, they lose this weekend to the Giants, or even next week I think the Eagles are going to win the next two games. Now, the third one, I'm going to say I don't know. It's away. It's in New York. You know, the Giants aren't just going to lay down. Not that they're going to lay down this week, but if the Eagles lose this week, then I will be hitting the panic button for more reasons than just the fact that they're 10-5. Because at this point, you got to start saying, all right, is there more of a problem in the locker room that we don't know of? Is there more bickering going on with the guys that could lead to really some you know, a one and done in the playoffs? So that would be more so why I'd be hitting the panic button, more so than just the loss against the Giants, because it's the bigger picture at this point of the season.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's kind of getting to me too, is you know, the on the field play is certainly leaving a bit to be desired. But man, there seems to be a lot of whispers, and there's the old, you know, there's smoke, there's a good chance there's fire. As I say that, as candles are lit behind your head.
Right. Like,
where there's smoke, there's fire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of an interesting scenario right now where I guess the question is, you know, I was on with our buddies Tom Fallon and Mike Raymond on Lehigh Valley Fox Sports last week, and Mike actually asked me a good question. He said, you know, if DK Metcalf, who had gotten thrown out of the game, or I don't know if he was thrown out of the game, but got a penalty with Dre Greenlaw, again, a name we're familiar with, or Kinlaw, or whoever it was on the 49ers defense, and got into a little bit of fisticuffs. And he said to me, you know, who's going to be the one to do that for the Eagles? And I joked around and I said, well, Dom DeSandro is not allowed to be on the sidelines anymore.
Right.
But it honestly got me thinking, who on this team is that dude right now? And I was in when the CJGJ stuff was happening in the offseason, and there were rumors about how much they offered him to stay, and he didn't take that offer.
Yeah.
And then he basically took, you know, kind of a baseline deal in Detroit. I was one of those people that walked away from that saying, okay, you know, if it means keeping our corners and some, you know, keeping the corners and 3/4 of the secondary intact versus potentially losing but going into the offseason, there was a potential to lose both corners or have to do deals or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
When all that dust settled, I thought, oh, okay, I like CJ and I like his swagger, but I think they made the right move.
Mm-hmm.
Now I look at a defense that's not generating turnovers. And granted, CJ has been out a good part of the year, but he's due to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Or either came back last week or is due to come back. But was a guy that just had the right amount of voice, I felt like, on that defense. And whether you wanted to call it confidence or swag, or you wanted to call it overconfidence, or but he was a guy that wasn't afraid to speak his mind and go out there and back it up. He was a big part of that defense having so many turnovers last year.
He was.
You brought up the locker room. Kind of who's reeling this thing in at this point right now?
My first go-to would be Brandon Graham. I mean, he's not a full-time player. He's not an every down player, but give me a name better than Brandon, maybe Fletcher, but I don't think so. A name better than Brandon Graham at this point, who has been here before, has seen it this way, has seen it the positives ways, the negative ways. I can't think of another person right now. That's the first name that came to mind was Brandon Graham.
So I look at that older group, the Kelsey, the Fletcher, the Brandon Graham and stuff like that. And they are Lane Johnson, you could put in that category. This is a young team and a lot of young players. And I particularly thought that Jalen's comments after the game about commitment were open-ended in a sense of, does he mean commitment off the field? Does he mean commitment on the field? Does he mean, hey, is it maybe we're running a play that you don't love? There was, you go back to that Quez interception, which we've talked about. I said way back in the season that I'm perfectly fine with Olamide Zaccheaus being the number 3 receiver. This is before Julio. This
absolutely.
Is when Quez was hurt. I'm perfect because I just think Quez is I want to choose my words carefully here. I understand what Quez Watkins is and what he could provide. But it's not, we're not finding that. The home run's not there. It's strikeout after strikeout after strikeout. Not only that, but when you see certain plays that maybe he's not doing his part in the route tree, that maybe is getting in the way of other people and what they're trying to do. Or you see Kenny Gainwell come out of a backfield and be right in the lane of a pass. That how does that is that design? Is that players not giving their best effort? Is it, to go back to Jalen's comment, is the commitment? Like I said, to I don't like this one. If you look at the interception to Quez is looking over at AJ Brown, and they're both looking at each other like, what are we doing? AJ doesn't even come off the line of scrimmage because he doesn't know where to go. Quez beelines it to split the safeties. It's not thrown deep enough. He's not that dude. He's not AJ Brown. So if he's in stride and you hit him, great. But we've also seen that not work.
Correct. We've seen him fumble that a couple times.
So, I come back to Jalen and I come back to Nick Sirianni and I come back to the two of them because the disconnect to me starts there. So are we not giving guys enough to be excited about coming out of the huddle? Or are we telling our quarterback, look, in these situations, the second interception to AJ, it just can't happen. And to come out in a press conference and say you're looking for defensive pass interference is absolute nonsense. It's nonsense. And so I wonder if, as I get, I'm frustrated with the turnovers as they're happening. And is that what they're telling Jalen to do? Are they telling Jalen, don't take the short route, don't take the check down, don't take the sure thing?
They might,
take the shot and go. So who's going to be the one to sit and say, this is what we're calling for? Because as fans, not that they have to tell us everything. We're not expecting them to. There's a reason why we're watching the game and not coaching it and playing it.
Correct.
However,
of course,
our eyes aren't lying and our ears aren't lying. So where does the responsibility lie? Everybody's saying, I got to do better. I got to do better. Where does the responsibility lie in your mind on this team?
I mean, you said, look, one person you didn't bring up was their offensive coordinator in Brian Johnson. So I think we have to look at him as well, as much as Nick Sirianni, as much as Jalen Hurts,
which is fair. But Nick has come out and said this is my offense that
right?
Brian's calling.
Hmm.
So okay, so Nick, talk the guys in the huddle. They're either frustrated with the selection of play. In
Oh, they
my
are.
opinion, I've gone through this far in the season thinking that it's been more on either the players. Listen, they moved the ball really well against Seattle for stretches of times, and then they didn't. They had turnovers. They moved the ball against Dallas really well stretches of time, and then they didn't. They had turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
They moved the ball really well in the beginning of the game against San Francisco, and then they didn't
then
anymore the rest of the game. So in my opinion, listen, do I think they have the most creative offense? Is there things I'd like to see them do? Would I like to see Jalen under center more? Great. Sure. All those things. We're too late for that. You can't all of a sudden start implementing, in essence, a whole new offense this late in the season. I understand that. And Jalen's still a young player with parts of his game to figure out. But so then what are we doing? Is it that are you telling me that the players aren't doing their part, turnovers, all that stuff? Jalen's not making the right reads, making the right throws, or is he getting those 15 seconds in his helmet and they say, man, if they come out and they do this and you read this, if that safety shifts, if they move down and you read this, this is what you're going for. Because I think that's a really important part of who needs to get the blame in this.
Yeah, what is the correct answer? You brought up all those points, which are great points. I don't know where it lies at this point. Now, by any chance, were you watching the Peyton and the Manning cast on Monday Night Football?
Yes.
Did you see where that? Now, maybe it's just because he's in the NFL, but McCaffrey was a special guest and called the play. He called 2 plays. I look at that as, okay, he's a guy in the NFL. He probably understands more, what the offense looks like. So it's going to at this point. But if he's sitting there calling the plays, I mean,
so I'm happy that you brought this up.
Yeah.
Because yes, it's probably, listen, he's in the NFL. He gets it.
Yeah.
One of the things that the Eagles keep talking about is, and we talked about motion a little bit last week, and people are going to talk about it and say what you want about it. And they motion, I think it was like 27th most or least in the league last year. They went all the way to the Super Bowl. I get it. What motion is window dressing.
Yeah,
it's changing things up. It's giving you the same thing. If you have a lot of effectiveness to the open side of the field, you're on the left hash, the open side of the right hash is open, and you have a ton of success doing that in 2x2 or 3x1, trips, doubles, you go quads, whatever it is. You can do different things that don't just come out. If it is trips, you can come out in 2x2 and motion and give yourself a hint on what the defense is doing to set yourself up for a more conducive situation on that down.
Yeah.
What Christian has said, from what I took, first of all, we see tight ends pull and kick back and do all that stuff. Exactly what Dallas did, just not on the line of scrimmage. He's kind of an up back in that situation. That's not anything brand new. Mm-hmm. But can we dress it up a little bit? Probably what Christian is saying is they get in this formation and they don't move. And a lot of times when they're in this formation, they've got 2 or 3 plays that they run out of it because they are at times successful with it, because they can at times. They're a really good offense, so they can get away with it if they're consistent in doing it. If you're not consistent in doing it and there is issues, who's to blame? What's got to change? What are we looking at? Because right now, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So is the problem the players aren't performing? They're making the turnovers, or is it coming from upstairs that says we're going to take these shots when we get them, and they just keep shooting themselves in the foot instead of taking what's in front of them?
Yeah. And will Nick eventually say, hey, and I'm going to take over play calling duties? I don't think he will. I think this is what we have for the rest of this year. I do. I think that's, we're going to have to live with it. The turnovers can be fixed, but the non-creative part in the offense, this is what Brian Johnson is. Apparently, I don't know, but maybe this is what he is. And we just, hold on to the ball. Don't fumble. Don't throw interceptions. And, I don't know.
And that's where, to me, it comes back to the players, because I watch the game and see scenarios where the deep, listen, AJ drops the ball at the 4-yard line against Dallas. That rarely happens.
Right.
But on a 3rd and 4, coming underneath is Devontae Smith, wide open with nothing but green grass in front of him.
Yep.
You go back to the last game of the last play of the Seattle game. I get it. You're playing the clock. You got a lot of different things to do, but you have time. You have a timeout in your pocket.
Sure.
Kenny Gainwell is sitting there wide open with the middle of the field. Listen, if I would have felt much better, I'm not going to say I would have felt great about losing the game. Would have felt much better if Jake Elliott goes out there and has to kick a 58-yard field goal in Seattle in conditions and misses that kick.
Absolutely.
It's not an easy kick on a perfect day at Lincoln Financial Field in front of your home fans. If you're up 50, that's still not an easy kick, let alone in the conditions, the circumstances, all of those things. But to settle for what you settled for and then to double down and say that we were basically, in essence, hoping for a defensive pass interference, they were going to get too aggressive, is so aggravating as a fan, angered at what I heard. That, like, literally was driving in my car and went, there's no way he actually said that. It's Cat Country 96 Birds Recap. It is brought to you by Miller Lite. We've got to talk about the sponsors here a little bit.
We do,
brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by Banko Beverage Company. Big thanks to our friends at Banko. We were going to be back out again once the playoff time's coming around. Lost in all this, the Eagles did clinch a playoff spot. I think what's been particularly frustrating for Eagles fans is after the Cowboys get their doors blown off this weekend, you think, okay, if we can get Seattle, that gives us the leg up on the 2 seed. Now, I mean, now you're in a situation where you have to hope Miami beats Dallas, which I think is a doable thing. No problems with that.
Well,
Dallas and Detroit play each other. Are you possibly, if you can, we'll see, take care of business against the Giants this weekend? Are you maybe actually hoping that the Cowboys win that game so Detroit doesn't get the 2 seed? Like, you've just everything that you worked so hard for in the beginning of the season right now is sitting on, you might be the 5 seed playing on the road in Tampa, Atlanta, New Orleans, whoever ends up winning that division. It's just
what do you do? Okay, in this situation, I'm not sure if I brought it up to you or not before, but let's say the Eagles are locked in at number 5. They have the number 5 seed going into the final week of the season, I guess it would be. I mean, on that situation, you can treat it like a bye week a little bit and maybe not play your starters, sit or play them for a quarter or whatever. If you're not going anywhere else and you're locked in at number 5, you're the wild card team. Are you going to play your starters?
Take a week off. No. If I know where I am, it's not going to reseed me at all. Take the week.
Yes.
I thought this week was the first week running. Jalen looked really spry, I guess, for a lack of a better word. Like, looked really efficient running the football.
The only thing he's not doing, he's not cutting. He's not cutting back at all. And it's predictable where, I don't know if he can cut, but if he's going to run out to the right, he's going to hit the, you can't get on the guy for going out of bounds. I understand that and not wanting to cut back, but I've noticed he's still not cutting yet.
So it's interesting. I went back and started looking because to me, it's like, okay, the easiest thing you can do to get yourself right on offense, again, we keep talking about it, is efficiently run the football.
Yeah.
And I started looking back and trying to figure out where, like, what games kind of did we see that really show out? And I ended up on the the Sunday night game against the Packers last year. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. Jordan Love throws a touchdown pass. Go back and watch Jalen Hurts run in that game. To your point, literally thought the exact same thing. He's got to run in that game. Can't remember what down it was, but where he is literally to the left hash mark and is making people miss, getting all the way back across the field. And I understand knee injuries are going to take forever to recover, especially when you're going out. You're not really giving it a chance to heal. With that in mind, I would say in whatever situation, if you have any circumstance locked up the last week of the season, short of maybe trying to go from the 3 to the 2, if Detroit does beat Dallas, Detroit has to play Minnesota twice, Dallas, and then I think they close. Oh, no, they have Minnesota twice and Dallas.
Yeah.
If there's a situation where maybe you can go from the 3 to the 2 seed, I would say maybe you play that game.
Sure.
Even then, I know Detroit's a better team at home than they are on the road. And if they get the 2, you have to go to Detroit. I would rather have a healthy scenario, go into wild card weekend on the road against that NFC South team, take care of your business, go into the next week and be ready. Or I'm sorry, if you're the 3 seed, you win the East, you're playing the Rams, the Packers, the Vikings, the Giants, name any of those teams that are currently hovering around in the NFC wildcard picture, and then take your shot on the road in Detroit.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the number 1 seed is not going to Philly. We're not going to get a bye week. I mean, I think that's pretty much out the window. It's going to go to the Niners. Unless something crazy happens with San Francisco.
Right.
Absolutely.
Which we've seen. Crazy has happened before. It wouldn't be the first time crazy happened. Wouldn't bet on it, but crazy has happened before. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this is going to be – it's funny, Crockett, because I think I mentioned this before. I thought this weekend's game was going to be a background game for Christmas night, but apparently it is not
foreground.
It's
Santa Claus and Eagles Giants. They're right there.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And you can hear the game on the Cat. It's Christmas night, but Cat Country 96, you can still hear the game on this weekend, of course. So, man, I'll tell you, I think we got a lot of anger out, a lot of feelings out. It feels good today. All we wanted last week, to go back to it for the final time, all we wanted was a chance.
Yeah.
Going back to that last drive, just a chance to tie the game.
And I said to you last week, I don't care how they got out of Seattle last week with a win. If it was 3-0, that game was ugly. It wasn't great, but man, you pin them back. They got 92 yards to go. It's Drew Lock. Just find a way to win the stupid game, and they didn't. And so that's why this was pretty much a therapy session brought to you by Miller Lite, the official sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by our friends at Banko Beverage Company. It is the Cat Country 96 Birds recap. Okay. So, Sam, before we go, I need a prediction. Eagles, Giants, Christmas Day. What?
I don't know. I don't even know what to say at this point. If it was in the Meadowlands or if it was in New Jersey, I'd be a little bit more concerned this week on Christmas. I don't think the Eagles will let us down on Christmas night. It's happened before. They lost to Dallas last year on Christmas Eve, but a couple years back they beat Dallas. It goes either way on Christmas. They're going back to the dynamite, the black jerseys. I love it when they wear the black jerseys at home. Boston Scott's ready to have a field day. I'm trying to kill time to figure out what I'm going to do here. Look, it's Christmas. They're not going to let us down. The Eagles will win the game by 1. 1 point. They're going to
by
win.
1?
1 point. They're going to win the game. Absolutely. Something weird is going to happen, like a 21-20 game, Birds. Yeah.
Sam,
that's my prediction.
First of all, I'm going to disagree with you. I think I'd rather they be on the road for this game, because if they come in and Tommy DeVito gets the ball first and they come right down the field and score,
oh boy,
and the Eagles get out and go 3 and out, or there's a fumble, or any of what's been happening for the last month happens again, that's not going to be a fun environment to be in.
That is true.
I need we keep talking about how they haven't played a complete game.
Correct.
I need it to be this one. It has to be this one, because you can get yourself right. It gets the monkey off your back. Maybe, Dallas didn't look great this past weekend. Maybe they do it again, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, we come out of this weekend. We looked good. We have Dallas behind us right now. We can focus on the NFC East, win that, get a couple home games under our belt, and maybe only have to play San Francisco on the road in the NFC Championship game.
And who knows?
And then who knows? And I am trying not to be a homer here. I'm trying not to. I need the Eagles to win this game by double digits. I need it to be
So, go ahead.
This is who we are. Get the momentum going forward. Because if they squeak it out by 1, great, it's a win. All the conversation next week then is going to be Jonathan Gannon, and here he comes, and Nick Sirianni, and they got a point to prove, and yada, yada, yada. The Cardinals haven't looked bad the last few weeks. They threw a couple shots at San Francisco last week. So I need the Eagles to get up early in this one and not look back. I need like a 27-17, but like 27-6 or 27-10 at some point. Like
right.
This team needs to get, for their own confidence, for the fans' confidence. This is a game where if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm showing every bad play in film we've had for the last month. And I say to these guys, is this who you are? Who are you going to be? For the next week, I want you to think about who you're going to be. I'm sending emails to players of plays that they screwed up and being like, this isn't you. Who are you? I want to see it on Christmas Day. Who are you? Who is the player that you are? What are we as a team?
Yeah.
Who are we? And you better come out and show it, because primetime lights are going to be on you on Christmas Day. All the eyes in the country are going to be on you. Everybody's laughing at you right now.
True.
You have a chance to go out and punch a divisional opponent in the mouth. Knock them out.
I'll tell
Knock
you,
them out.
Crockett, with that speech, I want the ball because I am not fumbling and I'm catching everything.
I don't care who.
Yep.
I don't care who does it. I hope Olamide Zaccheaus has 10 catches and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And they run away with the thing. I don't care who does it.
Now, do you know off the top of your head if Dallas is a 1 o'clock start or if they're the same time we are? I can't remember.
Well, Christmas Day, the Eagles are. There's only 3 games on Christmas Day.
All right, so Dallas
the
plays
Eagles
on the
are.
Okay, so the Cowboys play Miami on Christmas Eve, so we'll know the outcome of that game first. And I think that stadium will be rocking. Now, I get what you're saying about, a DeVito drive, 90 yards, 80 yards, score. It's going to get everything. But especially if the Cowboys, going into that game with the Cowboys loss, that place will be the loudest you've heard it this year.
Yeah, and the Cowboys are on the road in Miami.
Yeah,
They're a different team on the road. So the Cowboys will be in Miami Sunday at 4:25. Christmas Day, Chiefs Raiders at 1, Eagles Giants at 4:30, and then a big one, Ravens 49ers.
Oh, that'll be
as the nightcap. So
okay,
let's go Birds.
Birds.
Just the whole narrative about this thing can be totally different if you just take care of business against a team that you should beat at home.
Yeah, they should.
Show who you are here. That's my conversation. What team are you? Who are you? And maybe we'll find out on Christmas Day. It's Cat Country 96 Birds Recap. It's brought to you by Miller Lite, the official beer sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, and by our friends at Banko Beverage Company. For my friend, Sam Malone, my name is Kevin Crockett. Sam, go Birds. Let's
go Birds.
Please go Birds.
Oh, please.
Please go Birds.
Love
go
it.
Birds. It's Cat Country 96 Birds Recap.